I want to give some backstory to explain where I am coming from and why this situation is so hurtful for me. My husband and I come from similar backgrounds. Our families were paycheck to paycheck, and not many went to college. We both have degrees and make significantly more than the rest of our respective families. When we got married, I was already a homeowner of a small house and had a car. My husband, however, had a lot of debt and his credit was trash. It wasn't his fault. He had significant student loans and had frequently had to help his family members with money. He also has ADHD and had mishandled some bills. I was understanding of his situation, but I was also anxious to help him get debt-free so we can have kids without such burdens over us. He was making 80K and I was making 100K. He moved in with me and we split expenses 50 to 50 except that he didn't have to pay any rent. I fully covered the mortgage and home insurance since he's not on the deed, and I also paid extra into his debt so he can pay it off early. His car loan is in my name and I also cover half of that. I do IT technical support and I got the opportunity to take a job that required 50% travel but paid a lot more. We together decided that I'd do this job for a few years to significantly shore up our savings and pay off a good portion of the debt. I did this job for a little over 2 years till I got pregnant and then took a lower paying job, 120K now, which doesn't require travel. The travel job paid more, but it was so hard on me. I was traveling to the back ends of small towns where the big warehouses and data centers are located, and the job is physically demanding, pulling cables, moving equipment, working in very cold conditions. I was miserable in this job and ended up with some back problems, but it was a sacrifice for our family. When I was 8 months pregnant, my husband asked for a paternity test. It came out of nowhere, and I asked him if he didn't trust me, and he said he did, but because I did so much travel, he just needed some assurance for his peace of mind. He said his family and friends have asked him how he could be so sure of this pregnancy when I have been out of home for so many nights. It really broke my heart that I did so much for this man and didn't try to protect my assets or my money, and he treats me like this. I got very hormonal and cried about it, so he stopped pressuring me then. Now our son is 3 months old and he's back at it again. He's put his foot down that I need to have the paternity test done, and he won't sign the birth certificate otherwise. I told him his name is already on the BC because we are married and I did the paperwork before they discharged us at the hospital. He didn't realize that would be the case and is furious at me thinking that I tricked him. So here I am stuck married to a man who not only doesn't love me or trust me, but is an idiot. His family is calling me and pressuring me to let him do the test. My family is offended on my behalf, but some mutual friends are saying a test is not a big deal. But it is such a slap in the face after all I have done for him. Am I wrong for how I am feeling?
Comment 1. NTA. How about you tell him that you'll get the paternity test, but in exchange, you want him to sign a post-nup that protects your assets and finances so he's not entitled to half in the event of a divorce? I fear that this isn't the end, and he's only going to get worse. For example, he may get proof that he's the father, but he may not let go of the idea that you may have cheated while traveling, and he'll continue to baselessly accuse you. Comment 2. NTA. And frankly, you are asking the wrong question. You should be asking why you're still with this manipulative leech. He has been successfully taking advantage of you and now claiming you cheated. Please see a lawyer and a therapist and figure out how to best move forward. This is just terrible. I don't understand why you're not outraged and pissed like your family. My F48 husband, M46, and I have a 20-year-old daughter, Ellie, who is currently on vacation from college. About 5 months or so ago, Ellie told us that she had a new boyfriend, who I'll call Tom. This came rather out of the blue, as Ellie hadn't mentioned seeing anyone or that she was dating, but both my husband and I were supportive and happy for her. However, Ellie was strangely secretive about the whole situation. Usually, she's an open book, especially with me, and would always share details of her personal life. On this occasion, she wouldn't show any pictures, and we knew next to no information about Tom, other than that they met at a party through a mutual friend. Ellie spent the past month of her vacation in her college town, and the plan was always for her to come back this weekend. Ellie asked if she could bring Tom with her for a few days of the trip as they were getting serious, and she wanted him to meet us. Although we mentioned that we knew barely anything about him, Ellie expressed that it would be a surprise and that we'd love him. Given he's clearly an important part of our daughter's life, we agreed and said we'd look forward to spending the weekend together. Yesterday morning, we went to pick up Ellie and Tom from the airport to drive them to our place, and we were shocked. We knew instantly that Tom was much older than Ellie, and he certainly wasn't a college student. I was just in a state of surprise but didn't want to cause a scene, and told my husband to do the same. We drove home, but it was a frosty journey, which Ellie commented on. When we arrived, my husband point-blank asked Tom how old he was. Tom said he was 44. I was immediately disgusted. He's only 2 years younger than my husband and old enough to be Ellie's father. My husband continued to interrogate him, asking how they met and the whole background. Ellie explained that it was at a party and Tom was there because he's well known around the town, and they realized they had a lot in common and hit it off from there. I really didn't want to hear any more, and my husband told Tom to leave. Ellie shouted and said how unfair this was and we hadn't even given Tom a chance and that he made her happy. Tom could sense the tension, so left and Ellie followed behind him. I texted Ellie to tell her we'd love to see her and to come over to discuss the situation. She asked if Tom was welcome, and I said he wasn't. Therefore, after labeling me a judgmental a-hole, she told me she wasn't coming and that they would be staying at a local hotel and catching up with friends. I feel terrible about the whole situation and don't want to lose my daughter over it. My husband isn't budging and says he'd have to be held back if he ever saw that man again. Comment 1. Play the long game here. Best story I have heard. The dad befriended the guy. They talked about stuff relevant to their age group, did dad-aged stuff together, talked about things like insurance and retirement and house payments, went out to eat at boring grown-up places instead of sports bars, and just generally acted like middle-aged men. She realized she was basically dating her father, they had almost nothing in common, and broke up. Comment 2. I was your daughter once. Nearly same age gap with the guy I was dating. The absolute best thing my parents did was keep the lines of communication open between us, because as the guy started to systematically cut me off from all the other people in my life, when I finally went to cut bait, it was my parents who stepped out to catch me. Comment 3. I was hoping to find someone else in the daughter's shoes. My parents' open disagreement with my decision made it easier for me to lie to them to avoid their disappointment. That said, I give them credit that they emphasized that they were there for me, and it got better when my mom started letting me vent judgment-free. I knew the stupid, immature, hurtful things he said and did with me were just that, but my mom listened and didn't judge. Honestly, the shame of telling someone was eventually enough for me to realize how crazy our relationship was. My 50F, 10 and 13 years old children are at their dad's, 52M, for the summer. We divorced 10 years ago and he remarried almost immediately. She was the affair. After some counseling, we co-parent pretty well, most of the time, but my ex's wife, 32F, I'll call her Becky, is just a bit much. I really try to like her, but she talks a lot, is very opinionated and has a tendency to interfere with our parenting agreements. She'll cause delays in pickup times and phone calls. By hiding their phone, she's tried to get them to refer to her as mom, and last week, she took them to a theme park that my husband and I had already made plans and bought the tickets to take them to, when we came down, next week to visit. Their dad was unaware that she was planning it, as he was out of town, on business, that day. I was very upset, but I let it go, once my ex and I spoke about it. He assured it wouldn't happen again. 2 days ago, my son called to ask me some personal questions as they wanted to look up my family history on an ancestry site. I told him to wait and we would do that together, when he came home. I had signed up for a genealogy site, a few months ago, to help my mom. I signed in, today, and found 2 family matches, in the town that my ex lives in. Becky did exactly what I asked her not to do. We had previously discussed social media and computer access, and I was very explicit that I didn't want my kids' info out there. When I called her, at first, she denied it, but after I pressed, she admitted that she did and didn't think it was a big deal. It is to me. 1. My wishes were completely ignored. 2. There are things in my family's past that, while I am not a part of and it can't be changed, I feel like I should have had the chance to prepare them for, with the nuance it deserves. My great-grandfather was not a good person. I really blew up and told her that she is only their stepmother. They are not her children and she has no right to stick her nose into our affairs. I know I said some pretty vicious things that truly escaped me, but my Fs were all gone. Of course, she cried to my ex, who called me and yelled at me for upsetting Becky. I told him that I was not going to deal with her anymore, that all communication will only be between him and me, and to have the kids' stuff packed up and ready to go home when we came next week, as they will not be back for a while. Our visitation schedule is very flexible, but I am the primary parent and have the final say. My ex said that I was being stupid and overdramatic. My kids are upset that Becky is upset and are telling me that I am being unnecessarily mean. My husband is rightfully staying out of it, but has said I should let it go, as she's just too dumb to understand what she did. Am I being unreasonable? Comment 1, NTA, but hubby is kind of right. Becky is getting the sympathy she doesn't deserve. You need to tell X, the next time Becky hides their phones, will be the last time Becky gets to see your kids. Just wait until she is either pregnant or your ex cheats on her. Comment 2. NTA, it's weird enough that Becky started dating a married man twice her age. It's even weirder that she's not trying to parent your children. Woman needs to step off, or it sounds like your ex is going to lose access to his kids. Up to him to choose, but based on the fact that he blew up your family for an affair, I don't have much faith in him choosing his children over her. Comment 3. NTA, and you need to watch Becky closely if you allow her back into your children's lives, because your kids shouldn't be put in the middle, and she is obviously venting to your children about what is going on between you. That right there would be a huge red flag for me, as she could be trying to alienate you from your kids. My M42 sister-in-law, 33, recently started selling burgers on Saturdays. She works a 9-to-5 Monday to Friday office job with a good salary, but she recently discovered she is pregnant with her ex's baby. He is no longer in the picture, so she is selling burgers for extra income. Now, every Saturday my wife, 40, buys burgers for our family, 3 kids, 12, 10 and 8. My issue is that my sil sells every burger for $9. So 5 burgers is $45. The burgers are tasty, don't get me wrong, but she is using my mother-in-law recipe, that my wife also knows, so I don't see why we should spend $45 weekly on burgers when my wife can make identical ones at home and we would spend less money on ingredients. To be clear, technically we can afford sister-in-law's burger comfortably, I just don't see why we should when there are cheaper options. I try to talk about it with my wife, as she said she mostly buys because she wants to support her sister. I told her it's not our job to support her sister. Besides, as I said, the burgers are tasty and every weekend they are sold out in a couple of hours, so I don't think losing our 5 burgers would put a dent in her business. Yesterday I told my wife again we shouldn't buy burgers, and she asked me why I cared if she was buying them from her money, not our money. We have each an account and one joint account. I told her it's not about that, I just don't think it's sensible to spend $45 every weekend on burgers when she already knows the recipe. She said she will be spending $36 then, because she won't be buying mine anymore if it bothered me so much. That's exactly what she did. She bought burgers for our kids and her, and didn't buy one for me, which okay, anyway I got a Big Mac for cheaper. So I thought we were okay, but she has been acting as if she is mad at me since yesterday. I fail to see why she is mad. Comment 1. YTA. Your money is not involved in any way. Your sil is pregnant and the daddy's not in the picture. Can you look at that with a bit of sympathy for her situation? She's not asking/begging for extra money. She's working, and this is a way your wife can help her out without treating her like a charity case. And everyone likes the tasty burgers. Comment 2. YTA, if you were just a super frugal guy, I'd maybe vote nah, but you want a McDonald's. A Big Mac is like $6, and that goes to a huge multinational corporation. A homemade burger is $9, and that goes to a struggling single mother. You're getting bent out of shape over $3 that you admit you can afford, that you're not even paying for anyway, and that buys a higher quality item. I can think of no way that you aren't a controlling R in this situation. Comment 3. Why did you buy a Big Mac when you could have just made yourself a burger at home? It's not your job to support McDonald's. Besides, they sell over 2 million burgers a day, so I don't think losing your one burger would put a dent in their business. YTA. I, 29F, wanted to buy a bracelet for myself because I finally had a job after searching for a long time and wanted to treat myself. My husband, 35M, suggested I buy it from his parents because they run a jewelry store and they'd offer me a good deal. That had been my plan anyway, so when we visited them, they live in another state, I went by their store and had a look at what they had in stock. I decided on a piece but didn't take it right away, as I needed to withdraw some cash. A few days later I overheard my husband talking to his mom about me but couldn't hear what it was about. Context info: there had been some negative talk in the past about my struggling to find a job, and I wanted to know if that's what it was about. I asked my husband later what they were discussing about me and he said nothing, but I got the feeling he felt caught out. Then he said they were talking about the bracelet I wanted and he was going to buy it. I said I was happy to buy it for myself, but he insisted, and said he'd sort it out. I was thankful and said okay. Then, after we returned home, I asked about the bracelet and he said he was gonna give it to me later, maybe my birthday. I was annoyed because I wanted to buy the bracelet and wear it, like immediately, and that's what I would have done if he hadn't bought it. He said he paid for it, and that was a nice thing for him to do. I agreed, but said if he kept it, then it felt like he took it from me, and was making me wait to get something that I was prepared to pay for myself. We had a low-level fight about it, after which he said I can just have it right then, but I said I didn't even really want it anymore because now every time I wear it, I will think about this argument and the whole gesture feels ruined. He accused me of being ungrateful. We recounted this story to his friends. I don't have many friends as we moved here recently, and they all agreed that he paid for it, so I should just be happy, but I feel like if he wanted to pay for a gift that I had picked out and was about to purchase myself, then it's not fair to make me wait months for it. Comment 1. NTA. I find the ones saying YTA so strange. It feels like a weird power play by your husband. I would not be happy if I was going to buy myself something with my own money, then have my so tell me they would buy it for me, then refuse to give it to me. Honestly, you should go out and buy a completely different bracelet and wear it with pride. Comment 2. NTA. He started moving the goalposts. You wanted that bracelet for yourself that day, he made his grand gesture and bought it for you. This is very nice, but then he decided to put some conditions on it, such as I'll give it to you for your birthday. My suggestion? Go to another jewelry store and buy yourself a really nice bracelet and start wearing it right away.